Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for participating in this session. I'm Mingjun Song. I'm a faculty member here at the Child University. I've worked in the area of special education and early childhood intervention. I have taught in special education since 1995. My research paper is titled Can Children's Resilience Moderate the Negative Influence of Disabilities on Their Behavioral Outcome? So let's start here. This is the introduction. We know that children with disabilities often suffer for their physical disease, sensory impairment, and mental disorder. In addition, they are more likely to be bullied or treated discriminatorily. This situation could subsequently make the children with disability more likely to have externalizing behavior problems such as disobedience, non-compliance, maladjustment, and oppositional behaviors. Furthermore, some children with disability may also be susceptible to internalizing behavior problems such as anxiety, social withdrawals, somatic complaints, depressive, and even self-injury. These behavioral problems were more found to have a strong social association with a deteriorate consequence later in life, such as social exclusion and multiple health problems. Nevertheless, not all people with disabilities are doomed to get adverse behavioral outcomes. There are still some people with disabilities who overcome their adversity that live good life. These people were often described as more resilient than other people. Resilience can be viewed as a moderator between adversities and protective factors, in which the interaction change the effect of the variable in several ways. This mechanism is regarded as a rationale of resilience and can be categorized in three roles: enhancing, buffering, and antagonistic. The enhancing role could be described as challenge model, for the adversities may become active in the self-improvement process. The buffering role argued that the resist factor effect lies with the risk factor, and this mechanism is called the protective factor model. The antagonistic role suggests a circular interaction between several resilience traits, such as insight, independence, relations, initiative, creativity, humor, morality, and the self. In sum, our research goal was to examine whether or not resilience factor moderate relations between disability and children's behavior outcome. We hypothesized that the two resilience factors, the attachment and the forbear, can both moderate the relations between the children's disability and their externalizing behavior and externalizing behavior. For the methodology, we will first talk about the subjects, including our research area and the sample size. Then we'll talk about the research tools we used, such as the item and the scales. Thirdly, we'll talk about the research models, such as the path and the parameters. Lastly, we'll illustrate an analyzing schema and how we'll explain the result. Our research subjects were all from Taichung City in Taiwan. We sent our questionnaire to their schools and were responded by 85 preschools. We got permissions from 303 children's parents, and we requested the classroom teacher to rate the performance of these children. Then we coded the answer of each item as our data set. The predictor of this study is the identity of children's disability. It's a binomial variable. We ask a question of whether the children have any kind of disabilities If the answer is yes, it was coded as 1. If the answer is no, it was coded as 2. The measure of our outcome variable was from the Early Childhood Behavior Problem Screening Scale, ECBPSS, which consists of 12 items. These items load on 2 dimensions, internalizing and externalizing behavior. The ECBPSS uses a Likert type 3-point scale. 1 means not at all, and 3 means very much. The crumble alpha of subscale externalizing behavior was 0.95, and the crumble alpha of subscale internalizing behavior was 0.83. The measurement of resistance factor was from the Children's Resistance Factor Questionnaire (CRFQ), which comprised 96 items and 12 subscales, representing 12 personal traits of children's resilience. We used the attachment subscale and the forbear subscale in this analysis. Both these two subscales have each 8 items and rated on the 6-point scale. 1 means never, and 6 means always. The crumble alpha of the subscale attachment and the subscale forbear are 0.89 and 0.92. This is our hypothesis moderation model. We hypothesize that the resilience of children can buffer the negative effect of disabilities on their behavioral outcome. So we add the interaction terms between the disability and the resilience factor. After the calculation, we compare the R-squared change between the model with the interaction terms and the model without the interaction terms. The change of R-squared determines the effect of the moderation, and the F-value calculated by the ratio of delta R-squared and 1 minus R2 squared are used to test the magnitude of change. If the testing of F-value is significant, we further see the mechanism of the moderator. If the parameter b1 less than 0, b2 less than 0, and b12 less than 0, it means the moderation variable plays an enhancing role. If the b1 less than 0, b2 greater than 0, b12 less than 0, it plays a buffering role. If the b1 less than 0, b2 less than 0, b12 greater than 0, then the moderation variable plays an antagonistic role. This is the result of our research analysis. In order to know whether the resistance factor can moderate the deteriorating condition of disability on children's mental health, we conducted the regression analysis of disability on problem behaviors. Then we performed the moderation analysis by using the attachment and the forbear as a moderator. This is the demographic information and descriptive statistics of the variable we use for analysis. We have 165 boys and 138 girls in our sample. The average age of these children was 5.49 years old, and the standard deviation was 0.59. 31 children were with disability. It counts for 10.2% of our research sample. 272 children were normal, and it counts for 89.8%. For our outcome variable, the mean score of externalizing subscales was 2.69. The mean score of internalizing subscale was 2.72. For our moderator variable, the mean score of the attachment scale was 3.77. The mean score of forbear subscale was 3.64. Before we analyzing the moderation model, we performed several simple regression analyses on outcome variables. The slope coefficient of regression disability on externalizing behaviors or of minus 0.83. For the hypothesis test of this coefficient, the t-value was 4.516. The p-value was less than 0.001. It was significant. The weight of disability on internalizing behavior was minus 1.145. The t-value was 6.453, which was significant too. In figure 2b, the interaction terms was free to estimate, so it is the model with the interaction terms. The effect of disabilities on externalizing behaviors were significant. The coefficient B1 was minus 0.317 and the p-value was 0.125. The coefficient of the attachment regressing on externalizing behaviors were also significant. The coefficient B2 was 0.963 and the p-value was 0.1001. The coefficient of the interaction terms was minus 0.363 and the p-value was 0.017. This R-square of the unconstrained model was 0.178. The difference between R1 square and R2 square are 0.016. The F value calculated by the R ratio of delta R square and 1 minus R2 square was 5.771. It was significant and the p-value was 0.017. So it means that the attachment could moderate the relations between disabilities and externalizing behaviors. For the figure 3a and 3b, we have the attachment as a moderator and the internalizing behavior as the outcome variable. And here are the regression weights of these two models. The R1 square was 0.193 and the R2 square was 0.217. The F value was 9.195 and it was significant, so the attachment had moderated the relations between disability and the internalizing behaviors. For the figure 4a and the figure 4b, we have the forebear R as the moderator and externalizing behavior as an outcome variable. And here are the regression weights of the two models. The R1 square was 0.268, it's 269, and R2 square R was 0.274. The F value was 1.767 and it was not significant. So the forebear was not able to moderate the relations between the disability and externalizing behaviors. For the figure 5a and figure 5b, we have the forebear as the moderator and the internalizing behavior as the outcome variable. And here are the regression weights of the two models. The R1 square was 0.445 and R2 square R was 0.457. The F value was 3.955 and it was significant. So the forebear could moderate the relations between the disability and internalizing behaviors. In our conclusion, the findings suggest that the attachment was able to moderate the negative effect of disabilities on both externalizing behavior and internalizing behaviors, but the forebear was only able to moderate internalizing behaviors, not able to moderate the externalizing behaviors. There are methodological limitations of this study that need to be mentioned. Our sample was limited to the preschool in Taichung City. The future study can collect the data from a larger sample and recruit respondents from more diverse background of families. Another limitation is the data was derived from teachers' perception of their students' behavior, performance, and resilience characteristics. Future studies need to address the shortcoming and seek to validate teacher reports using other informants, such as behavior observation schedules. The present study implies a typology of the moderation effects of resilience factors developed unique to preschool children in Taiwan. Results of study on people with disability to date strongly suggest that resilience holds promise for the reducing behavior problems and fostering children's health adjustment. And prevention programs that focus on resilience factor are the good part of that vision of wellness. Thank you.